How's it going, Reef Keepers? Hope everybody is ready for the weekend. I know I am ready to do some tank maintenance and just stare at my tank for a while. But I wanted to kind of do a deep dive on my Elegance coral because so many of you guys comment on my Elegance coral and just say, wow, great Elegance, wish I could have one of those, or, that thing is the biggest one I've seen, which I've seen bigger for sure, but I appreciate it being the biggest some of you guys have seen. It's flattering because it has been some work, no doubt, to keep this thing thriving. And they're not, for me, it's been fairly easy, but for a lot of people, it seems like they're not an easy coral to keep thriving. And in fact, there's at least one, type of Elegance coral, because there's different types. There's an Australian type, there's an Indonesian type, there's a Fiji type. I know mine's not a Fiji type. I forget if it's Indo or Australian, but there's a disease that impacts some of them. And also I think there's just some misunderstandings about Elegance coral care. I've seen a lot of conflicting information out there. And I put out a video on like basic Elegance coral care a long time ago, but I want to kind of do, more of a deep dive on it. So I want to cover like placement in the tank. I want to cover like the kind of flow that they require and the kind of lighting that they require. So if you take a look at its position in the tank, obviously I keep it away from everything else. And that is because they can sting very hard, right? Also, if you have them so that they're brushing up on the rock all day long, they will pick off your snails for lunch. This guy eats like a snail a month, and it's not even like pushed against the rock, and it just happens to, a random tentacle will grab a snail about once a month. So be prepared to lose some snails for sure if you have one of these. And just so you know, they do grow to be the size of like a child's football, right? The skeletal structure underneath all this beautiful flesh is like a cornucopia shape. One of those things that is in all the old Thanksgiving pictures that you see, like in school textbooks. They've got like that basket that has fruit and stuff spilling out of it. That's a cornucopia. So like that's kind of what it looks like when you look at the skeleton when it's completely closed up. And sometimes mine does completely close up at night. And generally that cornucopia skeleton is obscured. So I just wanted to kind of describe what it looks like. I actually glued mine to a little piece of live rock, a flat piece of live rocks, to just anchor it and keep it in place so that it didn't shift around in the current, right? So you also notice like there's a double benefit to having it away from everything else so it doesn't sting everything else. The secondary benefit is it's pretty far away from the main like intense part of my lighting, right? I could not have this coral like center tank. I couldn't have it up on the rock. There's no way because I've got my lighting such that it can grow SPS coral up on the top of my reefscape, meaning at the top of my reefscape, I'm getting like 400 to 450 par, and there's no way an Elegance coral from Indonesia or Australia can sustain lighting that intense, because in those regions, they enjoy much lower lighting conditions. They like to be down in the murky areas, low on the reef. And as I understand it, based on the Fiji coral farmer that was on the recent Reef Builders episode, Fiji Elegance corals, interestingly, like to be higher up, way higher up in the reef, in the clear water. So it's very interesting how different corals that are the same type like different conditions in different areas of the world. But I think just because Fiji's just getting back up with their coral operations, I think most Elegance you're going to find for a while are still going to be Australia or Indonesia, right? Worth noting, there's also a disease that afflicts them in reef tanks within the reef hobby. And apparently, Elegance have become kind of uncommon due to this disease. Like this disease causes them to, it's just like a chronic wasting disease. They just kind of waste away. So I don't know why I've avoided that. I haven't done anything special, but I've avoided it, okay? This Elegance coral, by the way, in the course of like 3 years has grown from having 3 mouths to having 9, I think, 7 or 9. So it's seen some serious growth. Now, lighting, obviously, keep it off to the side. My par that I'm getting on it is about 150 down in this corner, down well away from the powerful spread of the radions. It's in the weakest point of the spread for sure. So if you have like acro strength lighting going on and you want an Elegance on a mixed reef, you're gonna have to keep it well out of the direct intensity of the lighting, okay? I wouldn't go over much over 150 par personally. When I go over 150 par and I have tried to move this thing closer to the center, it gets angry. So as far as flow is concerned, you can see that it's well engorged and puffed up, and I have fair flow down low in my tank. I have strong enough flow down low in my tank that I cannot keep soft coral in this tank. Any soft coral I put in this tank, I have found that it really struggles. So I'm now avoiding soft coral right now. But what I would say is medium flow to low flow, they seem very happy. They do not want rip and flow by any means. And the flow in my tank, you can see I have 2 Nero 5s on this side. I have a Nero 7 on this side. I have them slightly angled up. You can see the angle of that is not like straight across the top of the reefscape. So the flow in my tank is intense up high, but because they're all angled up and the pumps are placed up pretty high, there is less flow down low, and that's critical for the Elegance coral because I've tried to get way more, fast flow in this tank, and it starts to close up. It does not like that fast flow. So low to medium flow, you're very safe in that zone. I would say up to 150 par. Now you could push it. Every specimen's different. Specimens come from different areas. Maybe you can push it higher. For me, I can't go over 150 par for this guy. That's about right where it's at, right in that corner. And keep it away from stuff, guys. Keep it away from other corals, or you're just gonna, be flushing your own money down the drain. And unfortunately, if a tentacle can even just swipe the rock, expect some snail death, all right? Expect to re-up on snails once or twice a year because they will pick them off. There's no doubt. But yeah, I'm glad that you guys enjoy the Elegance coral. It is my wife's favorite coral, and she tolerates this hobby, but she's not super into it. So it's positioned front and center in the tank so that she can actually, enjoy one of the few aspects that she is pretty fond of. She really loves this coral. This is its position forever as far as I'm concerned. So you'll be seeing more of the Elegance. All right, guys, take it easy.